and it keeps you thinking positive. It's February. This is the love month. It's the best month of the year. I'm not just saying that. Aquarius, the year of Aquarius. Aquarius is about enlightenment. It's about positivity. That's what it is. So when I say it's the best month of the year, it's not because I was born in February, but because of my experiences and people who Aquarians and people who were born in the month of February. They are quite really special people. And February, of course, is love month. Valentine's Day is coming up. Some people have different views on Valentine's Day. I'm looking at this teddy bear and I just want to touch it. People have their different views about Valentine's Day. But at the end of the day, it's about how anybody wants to look at it. If you believe in it, then you enjoy it. If you don't believe in it, stay away from it. It doesn't make sense. That's what the world is. The world is such a complex place. I don't think we have a good understanding of who we are, from whence we came, and why we're here. And because of that, it's always that creating that negative attitude. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so glad that this morning my host, she has a book out, I'm Your Sister, Not Your Competition, and it's so timely. She's St Kitts born and bred and reared. She has wealth of experiences. She have basically... she's a communities person. She's been in pageantry. She has gone out there and study, excel herself, but she has never forgotten home. Home is where the heart is. With me, I have this morning's Jamal, my favorite person. Jamal, good morning and welcome to Your Views.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy I came today.
I know. I'm sounding quite loud in my head. I don't know what it is, but I think it's just that.
It's the environment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
It's really great energy right now.
Yeah, it is good energy. I walk in here this morning and I'm in love. Love is a good thing, huh? Oh, look at the roses. We're seeing so many different things that we didn't see before. Oh, they're sweet. It is Love Week. It's so much love that is being shared and shown here in WINN FM. I just love this place. Let's get into our topic this morning. For those of you who have missed me, I've missed you too. It's just what it is. Sometimes we have to take time away from each other to understand how much we mean to each other. And sometimes, when I'm done this morning with this program, I want us to start practicing love, creating a positive environment, and make sure our environment is filled with love, laughter, and live the life you love. And I do hope that you love the life you live, because that's what I practice, loving the life that I live. We create our own worlds. Understand? We live in a world where so many different people, everybody have different ideas, and everybody do things differently. So you have to learn to create a space of positivity and make sure at all times, because we're here, we don't know, we know we're here for not very long. I want to say condolences to the family of Sansan. We've been very good family friends, and it's a pity when we can lose people so early because he was yet so young. But it's just life. We don't know when our numbers are going to call. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to say that I would have lived a good life. I've lived a great life. I've enjoyed every minute of my life. If I had to do anything different, I don't know what I would have changed, because everything that I would have done in life have elevated me to another level. So some people might call them disappointments. I've called them learning curves and lessons that I could have learned. And because of those lessons, I'm in the position that I am in. So what about life I would have changed? I don't think I would have changed anything. I really don't think. I love people. I have friends. I don't have enemies. So I don't know. I don't know what I would have changed. Maybe some of my friends I would. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Jamal, let's talk about You're My Sister, Not My Competition. I love the topic. It's really a topic that we need to pay attention to, because one of the problems that we have, and this is the love month, is that women especially, we always look down on each other. We always step down, using each other as ladders so that you can excel yourself, so that you could be recognized. I've seen it where you're in a company with somebody passed, and all of a sudden the topic changes and it's all negativity. And I've always asked myself, why people do things like that though? People live the life they want to live, and they have a right to live the life that they want to live. And we have to expect and appreciate the fact that people are living their lives. And so I don't know what prompted you in writing the book, and maybe you can share some light on that. What prompted you for the topic of the book? I mean, it's good read, sorry. And those of you who have not gotten the book yet, you can go on Amazon. She's going to tell you how to get and how you can purchase the copy. But it's a book that I think everybody should have a chance to read. We are aware of what we do, but sometimes it takes somebody to say it for us to start making adjustments. That is how I start making adjustments in my life. When people think, oh, it's not criticism. It is not. It's constructive. It helps you to take some time, look and assess yourself and see where you're going wrong. So, you're my sister, not my competition. What is the meaning of that topic?
The meaning of that is actually very self-explanatory. We have a tendency to see each other as rivals, as competitors, instead of friends and sisters. And the reason I could have given this any name. I could have said, you are my friend, not my competition. But the reason I said sister is because I really do feel like there is a need for sisterhood that I see so many women shying away from. And it's not because there's something innately wrong with women. It's because of the insecurities that we have with ourselves. Because there is a love that we have for our natural born sisters. There's a certain level of respect, loyalty, devotion, protection. And I felt like if we could only start seeing other women in the same light, then what that means is even when she disappoints you, even when she upsets you, even when she hurts you, you still can come back to that core love. And that's something that we usually have for people that we hold really dear to us. So that's the way I view the friends in my life. That's the way I view the women in my life. And because I know that we're not perfect, including myself, I have to be able to say the same type of benefit of a doubt that I want others to give me. That's the same benefit of the doubt that I want to give to other women. We are a very naturally curious species as human beings, but we're often curious about the wrong things. There is so much curiosity when, someone does something absolutely terrible. You hear about a murder that was just absolutely deplorable. And the first thing that people get excited about are the details. Well, how and why? Why did this person do this? Why don't we take that exact same mindset and that approach when it comes to the relationships in our lives? Instead of dismissing people and simply crossing people off for making mistakes, where is that curiosity for, well, why? Because I understand this person is not evil. I've known this person for so long. What could have prompted them to treat me this way in this particular situation? Because I think that when we take the time to dive a little bit deeper, we will find that a lot of the things that people deflect onto us have absolutely nothing to do with us. And that becomes a teachable moment where you can now become a help to that other person. And so that was the premise of this book.
Wow. It's the why. Why would somebody do that to me?
Yes.
Why me? It's always why. Everybody have reasons for doing things. We never stop to look. It's not you. Sometimes you have to look at the person. And the reason why we get so upset, because we always feel a sense of insecurity when somebody tells you step out in the morning and you feel good. You feel everything is perfect. And somebody would walk down the road and say, girl, why you decide to wear that outfit? It's not giving, that kind of way. And all of a sudden, you start looking at it, I should not have. People tend to let's look at this. People allow people to dictate their life, to dictate what kind of day you're going to have. Because let me tell you, people have a right to say what they want to, and I've always said that. I put on something that I like, and because somebody doesn't like it, it doesn't affect me in any way. I'm rocking my dress, I am rocking my pants, and I feel good about it. People can only affect you in a way that you allow them to affect you. You can say whatever you want to, however you want to say it, and it doesn't mean anything to me. It is, if I want to feel bad, if I want to listen to what you say and change the way I feel about my day. That is me. It's not what people would have said. It is how I would have viewed it and how I allow it to happen, to affect me. And I like the fact you talk about building sisterhood. It's a competitive world. We are seeing people doing things out of the ordinary, not things that they're comfortable with, but because the world dictates or society dictates what happens in your life, you allow society to dictate what happens in your life. I suppose that is one of the reasons why we operate the way that we operate. And it's something that we have to start teaching the young people, starting now, because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the influence of YouTube and TikTok. Many mothers have to be taking away children's phone because they have created their TikTok account, their YouTube accounts, because that is what people are doing now. And as humans, we realize that standards are set. We mimic everything. There's a trend that comes, the way we speak, the language that we speak, the slangs that we speak, the clothes that we wear. I've seen people in town with short dresses and they're constantly pulling it down because they're not comfortable. But because it is a trend, they do it. And being your sister and not your competition, if we can practice being our sisters and not competition, we wouldn't have situations like that. So I like the way you talk about building sisterhood, because we have to start doing that now. We have to make sure that we start trying to bend the younger ones from the preschoolers, from the primary preschool right up. We have to start having people in there talking positive, creating positive attitude, letting them understand that life, your world is what you create, what you make it to be, and not what others dictate. And that is one of the big problems that I have with young women today. It's sad. Because what we do as adults is we drop the hint, or we do things, young people pick it up and we criticize them. That is the sad part about it. And these are the kind of things that, you write in the book. It's for you now to go out and explain what it is. And that area of you are my sister, not my competition, is something that we have to really start, not just saying it, but start acting on it.
Exactly. It's very easy to throw out cliche phrases like believe in yourself, have confidence, work hard. But we have to sometimes understand that these are children and they're operating on a very rudimentary level in a very adult world around them. And so it becomes, well, how do I gain confidence? How do I believe in myself? And the best way to teach a child is through example. We cannot simply rest on do as I say and not as I do, because what we end up with is a society that we created, and then, like as you say, we criticize it or we criminalize what the effects of it becomes. But if we are the environment that first creates these types of criminals or situations or these broken children that become broken adults, then how do we then turn around and punish them for doing whatever they deem necessary to survive within the same environment that we first created for them? And this is not a very palatable situation or conversation to have. It's very difficult to digest because it's very difficult to hear. Because as women, we often, and a lot of people might not like what I'm about to say, but it's very easy to say things like, we can do everything on our own. We don't need men. I don't need you. I don't want anything from you. But then when we look at society, I've had the opportunity, fortunately and unfortunately, to speak with inmates within prison systems. And when you talk to them, you find that over 80% of them were raised in single mother households. Now, for me to turn the mirror to just women and say, well, you're the problem then because you raised these young men, that wouldn't be fair because the men were absent. But again, curiosity, why were these men absent? And it's also very easy to just listen to a woman's side of a story and dismiss a man's views on things. But having sit down with some of these inmates, you hear them, grown men, explaining to you that they watched their mother systematically push their father away from them simply because a relationship with the child was predicated on the relationship with the mother. So if mom and dad are not good, the dad is not able to see his child as often. If the father is not providing a certain amount of money, then he's not able to spend a certain amount of time with the child. So we have to start acknowledging the fact that we live in a world where we do have to coexist and codepend on each other. This independent woman, that thing that's taking over right now, it's not doing us any good. It's actually a detriment to us because it's creating a situation and a system where women get to a level where they feel as though because they've accelerated at a certain point or because they've achieved certain things for themselves that they don't need a man. It's okay to have a child, but I don't necessarily need the other half of what helped me create that child. And that's the misfortune because it's the children who end up suffering. It's the children who end up paying for that. And to your earlier point regarding really building that sisterhood, there's so much more power in women working together than when we are alone. I had the opportunity to speak to a primary school yesterday, and as I got there, I looked at the clear distinction between the ages. There was such a huge age gap because it was children in kindergarten all the way up to like grade 6. And I thought, it's now up to me to bridge that gap because I can't dismiss these younger children and just address the older ones. And I can't address the younger children and not take into accountability the fact that these are older girls who need to hear a certain message. So we have to start taking on these things as a responsibility and stop looking at them as a burden. So what I had to do was create a situation where now I'm now on their level. We oftentimes forget when we're dealing with children that we were once children as well. What would you at 10 years old have wanted to hear? What would it have taken for an adult around you to penetrate that wall and really drive a message home that you can carry off into adulthood? So I had to introduce them to a whole world of women. So I told them about these women who, what if other women were tearing them down? They would have never done the things that they did. Women like Harriet Tubman, she couldn't read, she couldn't write. At 12 years old, a slave, she was punished because she refused to help one of the overseers on the plantation, punish another slave. And because of that, she suffered a terrible head injury because of a metal wheel that was thrown at her. Years later, because she had that support, that sisterhood, she was able to then lead 13 missions in the Underground Railroad that freed thousands of slaves. When I look at, there's a young woman, her name was Malala, and she is from the Middle East, Pakistan. And Malala was fighting for the right for young girls to be able to go to school and do their examinations. Ironically enough, it was immediately after she completed an examination in school, she got onto a bus, and a man got onto that same bus, and he started threatening the girls on the bus, asking them questions. And because she refused to answer, she was shot 3 times in the temple.
Wow.
3 years later, because she survived, she was able to stand up in front of the United Nations and tell the world, this is what's happening. And it's not just a one-dimensional problem. It's not just about, well, this is what people are doing to, people who live where I come from. But there was also a wider message there of just love and support and having the backing when you are standing for something that matters. Even when I look at women like young girls like Anne Frank, who sat in an attic for over 100 days, writing a diary, knowing that her death was coming shortly because the soldiers were inevitably going to find her and her family. And now that diary is now one of history's most important pieces of literature. Cleopatra, when she was only 18, she was handed the crown of Queen of the Nile. What if she was surrounded by a bunch of women who only wanted to fight her down, who told all the men around that she was undeserving of that position? She never might have had that crown. So there's so much that we can do when we work together. It doesn't matter which woman is sitting on the throne, But that's the problem most times. We all want to be that woman that's out front, the one that's garnering the most attention, the one that all the guys like, the one that's deemed most attractive, most intelligent. We all want that spotlight. And so because we're fighting and we're on this independent woman route, we're not seeing the surrounding women. And when they get too close to us, we look at them as threats because we're only seeing the destination and we're forgetting that the journey matters. And the journey has to include other women. And the only way to get other women on board is if you can exemplify a level of love and trust and respect and loyalty yourself. Because people cannot give back what they don't have. I can't fill you with something that I am empty of. But if my glass is half full and you're pouring love and trust and you're showing me how to be confident, how to be a better friend to you, if you're pouring all of this into me, then that naturally becomes what I have to pour back into you and into the rest of the world. So that's how I look at all of this. I'm sorry for rambling. I get very passionate.
You have done such a great job. I am awed. I'm sitting here in awe, and it's amazing because it is a fact. But you ask yourself the question: what has created this competition amongst women? Why women feel low self-esteem, that they are less than the other woman? Why people feel like I should wear high shoes when I cannot do it? Why can't I feel comfortable dressing in a way that it would accept and look just as good, me wearing my flat sandals? I've looked, let me tell you, I want to say it, but I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I look at, I'm not going to say it, but I'm not going to call him. I've looked at a lady who has been given a position, and I was very much impressed that position was given to a woman.
Yes.
Finally, a woman has been placed in a position where men have always dominated.
Yes.
And having discussions with other women, I mean myself, was the first thing we look at is, why she dressed that way? Why she wore that? Why couldn't she put on something else? And it was nobody discussed the position as, wow, finally. But it all stems from the way we were raised, the company that we keep. You have to realize, I used to wonder, how come it's getting worse? We thought after time, exposure, experiences, we would have read all the different stories, the Cleopatra, the Anne, all of those stories. We would have read the Rosa Parks story. We've read all of those stories, and we think that by people giving up and sacrificing, women pushing the narrative, that we would become different women. But we're getting worse. Yeah. We're seeing young girls, because my mother was 16 years old when she got her first child. There were people in those days, you finish school, CP, primary school basically is not everybody who got a chance to go to grammar school. And these people were working. People at 13, they were nurses, they were teachers, they were working because they couldn't afford, and the family didn't fit that position of having your child going to grammar school. So young women were working at an early age, and they were getting children, 13, 15, 14. So getting children at a young age now, it's basically it's nothing in comparison to how it was before, because it's illegal to have sex with a girl under the age of 16. So 16 years old is statutory rape, so that is not acceptable. But in those days, it was accepted. Doesn't matter how old you were, and there were young women. But I was raised by a mother who got children at 16, who lost her mother at 12, but understood the society that she was living in. Everyone had to work together as a village, as a community, to raise that child. And that was what they built, that sisterhood, where if you didn't know, my neighbors could have corrected me, take me home to my mother, watch her beat me, and she was allowed.
Yes.
Because they created that sisterhood, that I depend on you to help me to raise my child. Because a lot of those children in those days, you have the absentee fathers who left because of reasons. Some went away to better lives, found somebody else over there better and stayed. And so they grew up in an environment where it was not a competition, it was a sisterhood, where my neighbors were like no, we're not neighbors, we were brothers and sisters. They came to our house, we go to their house, we share food, we share ideas, and we wore each other's clothes, and it was good. I can't seem to understand when it started to become this competition where the topic is always, you see, she Jamal, she come back from the States or away, because we use those. She come from away and she feel like she better than everybody else. She feel like she feel like she look good. And those are the topics and discussions that you have. You walk into a discussion and you think that, oh, it's uplifting, and you want to know, so what are you all talking about? She. Hey, why? And it's always that gossip and trying to bring down and tear down. And we as women, we are our biggest problem. We have to learn, and this is one of the reasons why we have to do it now. We have to get people into schools where you're going to teach young girls about self-worth. And that is one of the things that I find is seriously missing. They don't understand how important they are. I say to my children every day, oh gosh, you're so beautiful. I mean, I look at my daughter and can't seem to get enough. I mean, and you say, you want them to know your mother appreciates you, and you are one of the most beautiful child in the world. It doesn't matter. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And children have to understand their self-worth. Beauty is not all. The dresses that you wear is not all. Clothes, I always tell my child, clothes doesn't make you. When you walk down the road, people see through that. They see who you are. And that strong, positive woman who understands that her world is dictated by herself and not others. I mean, that is the strength of a woman. We don't understand how strong we are as women. And if we work together as a sisterhood, we would move mountains. And it is a fact.
It is.
Men are afraid of women when they unite. It is a fact. And that is one of the reasons why we had a world where men, egoistic men who tried to keep our women because of the fact that, we were not equal. We were housewives and looking after babies, and they went out and the world became their world. But now we're seeing these barricades being broken down where women, we have the first female governor general, and here in St Kitts, it's been happening all over the world where people are now realizing that women can stand in position and can do just as well. But we need that unification of women coming together, understanding who we are, our self-worth, and trying to teach it so that we can recreate that world of love and not competition.
I don't think you could have said it any better. I totally agree with what you just said. And a lot of that is deflection. That's what really a lot of that comes down to, because no one likes to feel like they're the only one in a room with these skeletons in the closets, because we have to, as much as we say we want other people to know us, we want people to love us for who we are, sometimes the hardest thing is for us to recognize exactly who we are and love ourselves, because we, more than anybody else, are aware of our flaws, the things that we've done in secret. We're aware of our sins, our crimes, all of these things. And because of the fact that we know these things about us, we're always looking for somebody else to do worse than us so that it makes us feel a little bit better about where we are with ourselves. And that's the problem. We have to start accepting that there's nothing wrong with the fact that you've made mistakes. There's nothing wrong with not being the smartest in the class. There's nothing wrong with not having the most money, not being the prettiest. There's absolutely nothing wrong with failures. I say failure is a necessity, as a matter of fact, because without failure, you never hit a certain point where you have to start fighting. You have to start persevering. You start to see the strength in you. If you're always at the top, there's really no need for you to keep pushing any further sometimes. You become complacent. But when you know what it's like to be down, it gives you a certain level of drive, and it gives you a certain level of just self-awareness and a certain level of strength. And so I think that the fact that we look at our failures as weaknesses, I hear people say that all the time. I don't trust people to tell them my weaknesses, otherwise they'll use that against me. Now, what if your weaknesses were not perceived as weaknesses? What if the same thing you define as a weakness, you simply look at that as an experience, a mistake, but not the thing that defines you? Because if you can accept that, then you can tell the world about it. Once you've dealt with something with yourself, we don't ever need to deal with it with the rest of the world. We don't need to explain it to the rest of the world. But if the rest of the world ever got wind of it, that's okay. I don't care if the world finds out about something that I did 20 years ago, because I've already accepted that about myself. If I've already accepted, I'm just going to say it straight. If I've already accepted my dirt and that I've done some dirt and I can share that dirt with you, it's not going to hurt me if you throw that dirt back at me, because I've already accepted it. So find something else to judge me on. And at that point, you're now leaving that person with you. If I've stripped away everything that you perceive as my weaknesses, the only thing that you now have to go on is my substance. Everything that stands in front of you, what comes out of my mouth, what comes out of my mind, my actions. These are the things that you now have to judge me on. But oftentimes we're so ashamed of ourselves that we're always trying to find somebody else to pick at because we feel bad about ourselves. That's why I don't necessarily get upset when I hear about gossip, because I understand now that person simply needs understanding and forgiveness, but most of all, they need self-awareness.
So, you made a statement, and dirt, mistakes, choices. And that's what it comes down to. If I chose to do something with the information that I had then, and I did what I did then, why is it
Exactly
a problem? Why was it a mistake? I chose to do it because I thought it was the right thing to do. In retrospect, you look back and you realize, maybe I should not have that. But that's for you to decide, not the world. If I chose to do something, that was my choice. The world doesn't dictate what I do in my life. And these are the things that we have to understand. Our lives are not dictated by the world.
Yes.
And people cannot tell me what to do. That was one of my biggest problems in life. I stood my grounds, and I've always said it. Nobody tells me what to do. People say, oh, you're too defiant. No. Why would you want to dictate my life? Why would I have to sit down and wait for Jamal to come and tell me what to do? Why, if I decided to sleep with 3 men if I want to, why Jamal should come and call me whatever she wants? That was my choice. Women have to stop allowing others to dictate their life. Nobody understands my circumstances. Nobody understands my reasoning. Nobody knows the life that I live. And so nobody has the right to judge me. We use that word. No, you don't have that right to judge me. You do just as much and even worse than I would have done. But because you think people don't know that you have done it, you decided to come and judge me. And from a very young age, I've come to recognize that this is my world. And I am the ruler of my world. My rules are my rules. I live the life that I want to live. Nobody dictates that. I put myself in positions that I want to. That is not dictated by anybody. The job that I chose was not dictated by anybody. The life that I live is not going to be dictated by anybody. It is my world. And I live the life that I want to live. And I've lived that. Nobody has that right to come up to me and tell me, Sandra, you should not have done that. That's not in your position to tell me. That's my life. I am willing to suffer the consequences. If anybody think that I should suffer the consequences of a choice that I would have made, well, c'est la vie. And that's what it is. I make sure that the way I live doesn't affect, or it's not supposed to affect anybody in a negative way. If you want to take it as a negative, that is up to you. And we have to start to live our lives. We have to start to make sure that we are the rulers of our world. Our choices, the decisions that we make are our decisions, not waiting for somebody. And one of the things people always want to be praised. Very good, Jamal.
Yes.
You've done a good thing. Oh, you wrote a book. Wow, that is so good. That was your choice. That is something that you want. That's your form of expression. It's not everybody can write a book and express themselves in writing. There's some people who are very good at speaking their truth, but and it's not in writing. I am having a conversation. There are a lot of people who are very good at having conversations, but you cannot write it. I can't pen my thoughts, but I can speak it.
It's
And
validation.
Yeah, exactly. And one of those are the things that one has to understand, that your strengths are your strengths. Weaknesses for me sometimes are other people's strength, but because of the way I look at myself, and my weaknesses are based on how I feel. Not my weaknesses are not something that somebody say, "Oh, you have one weakness. You're too clumsy." My clumsiness doesn't affect you. It's for me
Exactly.
too. And you feel, if you look at me doing things in a certain way and you think that it looks clumsy, that's my way of doing it. Oh, red doesn't look good on you, but I'm not wearing it for you. I'm wearing it because I think that I like it. And we have to stop stepping out of our homes, hoping for people to validate you.
Yes. It's platitudes. And this is one of the things that I am very fortunate. I think that this I got from my mother. And it's funny because I think that where my mom is concerned, that was more a situation of when you can't do, you teach. Because when I look at her, I still see her struggle with certain levels of confidence within herself. But yet she was so able to drill that into me and really teach me that at a very young age. And even though I struggled with it back then, as an adult, it's always what I kept going back to. And so now at this point in my life, I don't live my life for platitudes. I don't need anyone to tell me how good I've done at something or how hard they think I've worked. Why? Because I was there. I know exactly how hard I worked. But the problem is we live in a world where it's about likes and it's about positive comments and feedback and views. If we give people that amount of power to validate us, we're giving them the power to invalidate us by simply changing their mind about us. Because the moment they don't like us anymore, or the moment those views become negative, where does that now put you and how you feel about yourself? That's one of the problems I have personally with even social media, because too many people go to social media and they literally sit there like they're so starved for this attention and this affection from people who absolutely know nothing about them. Why do we care so much about the views of people who know the least about us? The people around you, the people within your circle, the people who genuinely love you, these are the people whose opinions should matter. But at the end of the day, it still is your voice that should be the loudest one in your own head. We can't live our lives trying to constantly appease other people. Otherwise, we leave ourselves last.
And that's why we become so miserable, because we can't see within ourselves, oh, Jamal doesn't like me. So what? But I remember my daughter when she was growing up, she came home to me one day and she said, "You know, Mommy, nobody likes me in school." I said, "Why?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "How you mean you don't?" She said, "Because," and I said, "What do they say?" "Oh, they complain about my bottom. They complain about my shape. They complain, they think that I said, "Darling, these are people who want to be like you and can't be like you. So don't listen to them. Listen to you. Carry yourself with pride. You have what they want. It's sad. They don't have anything that you want because you're not looking at them that way. All you want to be is friends. You don't have to have them. Those are not people who are going to push you up or take you down. That decision is made by you." And I instill in my children's life early that your world is dictated by you. I've seen too many young people, and it hurts me. When you're having the discussion, this guy and I was having a discussion, it brought tears to my eyes. He was abandoned at 12. He got caught up. He started to smoke. He had a spranger at 12. And his world was turned upside down. And where was the mother? My mother didn't like me. My mother didn't like me because I looked too much like my father, and she and my father couldn't get along. We sit around and we judge these people. Oh, why isn't he this? And why? You don't know their story. We don't know. We look at people's journey, but we never understood their story. We look at
Yeah.
people's glory. We never understood their story. And that is one of the big problems where we become judge and jury, where we can judge other people and think that, I mean, you see a girl walking, she steps out of her house, you don't even understand. That is the confidence that she needed for that day. And you're going to ask her, why are you wearing those shoes? And all of that energy that she would have put in, walking out and enjoying, you would have broken her in one word, one negative statement that you would have made. When people hear, and people always say, Sandra, you're fake, because you always say, oh, wow, you look so good. It's a fact. I am not fake. I am being very genuine. When I tell you you look great, you do look great. I remember my struggles, Jamal, when I got my first child and I started to gain weight. My world came, I crumbled. I was afraid to go outside. I couldn't wear certain clothes. And my wardrobe was clothes that fitted a body like mine's. And then I realized that people, you walk and you're pulling away. You're talking to somebody and you're hiding behind others. You're taking a picture and you want to be behind. You don't want people to see you. And I lost myself. Not, and that positive person that I was, then I recognized my positivity came from the way I look. There was basically no substance, because people, when you walk out, everybody paid you that attention, which is something I didn't like. I was very shy. But yet still, when I started to gain weight, I recognized, I don't have that look anymore. People are not going to say, oh, you look good, and although you didn't like it, that you thought you didn't like it, that basically was the stone that basically was dragged from underneath you, and you were down. And as I grew older and wiser, and I recognized that, people don't dictate. I have a child, I'm happy. I have a reason why I look the way I look. And I'm happy. Nobody understood my story. And I was happy. And then I said, that is when I built that confidence that my world is dictated by me and nobody else. And I wish that those young women out there would have lost themselves. And every time you have a discussion, you recognize that is the problem. They have lost. Basically, you have a child, you don't no longer have that bargaining chip, because the first thing somebody's going to tell you, oh, you have a child already. You're going on like you knew. And then you find yourself, in a situation where you're just giving in, and you're just giving in,
Yes.
and you're just giving in, and you're just losing yourself. And we who do not understand the life that person would have lived, we become judge and jury.
And that's why I break it down the way that I do when I talk to people, and even in the book, that we have to dissect the why, even with the competition, even with that subject in itself. What are you competing for?
Exactly.
Is it the attention and affection of men? Is it the desire to be better than another woman? Are you trying to compensate for something that you feel you lack? Is it childhood trauma? Is it resentment that you might be holding for someone else in your life, but because you can't take it out on them, you find someone else close to you to turn into your punching bag? There's always a why. There's always an end game with why we're competing for something. No one lines up in a race for absolutely no reward at the end. There's always something, no matter how small or no matter how big. What we have to start doing, though, is start looking at people for more substance than what we actually judge them based on. And stop judging the messages based on who comes with the message. Stop looking at the messenger instead of focusing on the message. Just because someone made some mistakes in their past, it doesn't make them unqualified to advise you on something. If you have a drunk in your neighborhood who got there because of certain choices that he made, it doesn't disqualify him from being able to talk to a young child about the hazards of drinking. Who knows better than him? He's the total result of exactly what he's talking about. And often we do the opposite. We have teachers, we have people in certain positions who, simply because of the positions that they hold and the careers that they have, we don't want to see them out having a drink. We don't want to see them at a party. We don't want to see them in a tight dress, or you don't want to see him out with hanging out with women because he's a politician, or he ministers to people, or he does this or he does that. We focus too much on how people are living their personal lives, and we decide that we're going to dismiss the message because of where the message is coming from, when none of us are perfect. But that doesn't disqualify us from being able to assist each other. And that's exactly what we need, because I can learn from you and you can learn from me, mistakes and all.
You see, that is one of the reasons why Jesus, for those Christians, he wrote in the sand when they were going to crucify Mary Magdalene, I think, the woman, the prostitute, and he wrote in the sand, "Ye that have no sin, cast the first stone." And by the time he was done, there was nobody around ready to persecute or stone that woman to death. We have to recognize that we have made choices in life that people are still judging, and my choices that I made in my life, they were my choices. Nobody has the position or the authority to judge me. My life is mine and it's dictated by me. My sufferings are my sufferings. My joys are my joys. At the end of the day, your statement is not going to cause me any suffering or make me any more joyful than I am. That is something that is dictated by me. We have to instill that in our children. We have to start looking at ourselves and letting us know that our lives are dictated by us. We live in worlds of our own, but we still wants to be in other people's world. Create your own world. Create an environment of happiness. Create that environment of confidence. Create that environment of love where you are loved. Every day say, I am loved. I am happy. I am successful. I am progressive. I am beautiful. Whatever you feel you are, say, I am, and believe it, and it would be. It is a fact.
I think you just promoted the last part of what I was going to say. But I actually paired this book, and if I had to wait until I was perfect to write this book, I would die and this book would never be written.
But why are you not perfect?
Because I simply had to just come from a place of truth. And I will say this to anyone: you can save 100 starving children from hunger. You can give your life to voluntary work and philanthropy. You can write 100 books, or you could be a teacher that ended up teaching children that moved on to curing cancer. You can do all of these amazing things, but it doesn't mean that just because you've done these things, you're never going to make a mistake. Just because I wrote a book about women being more of a sister to each other than a competitor, it doesn't mean that I'm never going to have an issue with another female. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be struggling with these things myself. This is also a tool for me to continuously use in my life to better myself. But I saw a problem. I saw the systematic issue and where it could potentially continue to go. And I wanted to do something about it, not just for everyone else, but for myself, because I'm not perfect. So I paired this book with a set of affirmations that's actually called I Am.
Oh.
Yes, I know you didn't know that, but it's actually called I Am. And that's exactly what it is. I thought, what is it that I can give of value? What can I offer these women that I can personally say, I've done, I do this, it works for me, and share it with you absolutely free. So whether women have the book or not, the affirmation is absolutely free. You can get it in the ebook form, or you can get it in audio, which I suggest. The feedback that I've been getting from it is absolutely amazing. Although it is my voice, the words are the words of all women. This is the narrative that we need to start telling ourselves, that we are beautiful, that we are enough, and we need to start manifesting these positive things over our lives and the lives of all the other women around us. So this is something that I paired with the book. So if anyone wants to have access to that, of course you can get the book on Amazon, but I'm here in St. Kitts and I'm open. So anyone can reach out to me. I don't even care when people call me sometimes or message me and they're introducing myself and they're apologizing for getting my number. And I'm like, why? I'm happy that I can now be of service to you.
I am successful. I am beautiful. I am loved. I am happy. I'm healthy.
Yes.
I'm wiser. And people are afraid to say these things. We say negative things. And trust me, when you say negative things, you you create an environment of toxins, and it becomes a very toxic environment, and it keeps you that way. I am sick, you say, not me. And let me take that out. I don't like saying anything that follows I am has to be positive. And you say these negative things, and we wonder what happens. What happening to us? It is what you would have manifested for yourself, and that is the world that you would have created. And that is why I said nobody has the authority to dictate the kind of person I am going to be, because I am who I am. And you don't have that right. If you want to call what you would have done in life mistakes, I call them learning experiences I would have learned, because all what I would have done in my life has made me the person that I am. And so therefore, and I am proud of who I am. I am happy for the kind of person I am. I am successful. I am blessed. So all that I would have done from childhood until now have made me into that successful, positive, blessed, love, happy, healthy person that I am today. So I am grateful. So don't let people dictate who you are. Because at the end of the day, if you're living a life that people would have created, you cannot be happy.
Yeah.
You would never be happy, because you'll try every day, because you don't know what people expect of you. So when you step out and somebody decide that white shirt is not becoming, you go inside and you change it, and somebody has come out and say, why you didn't wear white? White looks so good on you. And then you go back inside and you put on white again and you meet somebody. And that is what happens to your life when you allow people to dictate it. I am your sister, Jamal, not your competition. I love it. And I've realized that Chant has brought in the clock. And so now I can look up and I don't have an excuse to say that I didn't know what time it is. It's 11 o'clock. We are at the end of our journey or discussion. This discussion, not our journey continues. It was wonderful. It was not planned. It's the environment. That's why I tell you what positive environments do to you. We walk in and the love petals and the sweets and the red and white and the feeling that it would have created got us a whole topic that we could have discussed. And we do hope that people have an understanding and take away the positive from it.
Yes.
And become who they want to be and not what others dictate that their life to be. Jamal, your last say.
I would just say to everyone, this love thing, it's not a one-day thing. I know Valentine's Day is coming up, but this is something that we should be showing each other, but most of all, demonstrating within our own lives and to our own selves on a daily basis. We have to start loving ourselves, because once you've mastered loving yourself, it becomes very easy to then emit that onto others.
That was beautifully said. And then for you, those of you to realize that it's the weekend. TGIF, thank God, it's Friday. Normally I would boost up them times, but I'm going to say it because it's a love thing. Them times by is on 4th Street. He's going to pay for this, help me pay for my spots, my time on WINN FM. They said the best burgers of the fish. The lunch is something that you have to experience. So for those of you who don't have anywhere to go for or lunch, go to them times bar. It is Friday. It is the day where you would have recognized that you've worked hard, and it's to relieve some of the stress you find yourself on the outside. Our environment right now is great. Mm-hmm. You just have to be careful, understand what you're doing and where you're going, and make sure you become your eyes, your ears, and keep them to the ground, because we are not living in a world where everything is or hunky-dory and everything is people are doing what they're supposed to do. So be careful. I've had experience that flu, wear your mask, social distance, and continue to hand sanitize. My name is Sandra Quilly Atherton. It was a pleasure being here with you. Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9. Voices is up next.
Big up every kitty shine. When me fly go England, Europe, me have fun can done. But everybody know ain't no place like home. Me no know about you.